Hey guys, this is John from US Dash Camera. Today I got a review on the Junson S100 dash camera. So this was provided to me for review from GearBest.com, so I'd like to thank GearBest. Now this camera is pretty unique because it's got a form factor that actually goes behind your mirror, and depending on if your mirror will fit this, it'll actually look like it's just part of the mirror housing, or you'll see some cars that have sensors behind the mirror. So here you can see there's a couple different pieces, and you can check on the website for the dimensions and make sure this will actually fit your specific mirror. But as long as you just have a pretty standard mirror with a skinny bar arm on it, it should fit. So this camera isn't anything special tech-wise or specs-wise. It does do 1080p at 30 frames per second. Now the website claims 60 frames per second, and so does the instruction manual that came with this. But as far as I can see or tell, there isn't any 60 frames per second mode, and I had a hard time believing that it was going to do 60 frames per second anyways, because this actually has an always-on Wi-Fi, and it uses the Novatech 96650 chipset. So that's the same chipset that's in the Mobius and the G1W and the A118. So it does decent 1080p 30 frames per second, but it doesn't actually do 60 frames per second. You can see here it actually comes with just a hard wiring kit, which I think is pretty cool, because if it saves money, I'd rather just get the hard wiring kit and no 12-volt adapter. So this does actually have a video output also. So this is a pretty cool package, I think, and it's only about $60 currently. So I didn't do a typical unboxing because the box was not really anything special, pretty plain, just white with some names on it, and the instructions is literally just this sheet of paper. So the package was very basic, nothing really to show. Here you can see, shows you how to use the Wi-Fi and a few other things, which I will go over. And I used Final Cam. So Final Cam is something that's been around for a while, supported other cameras, so I wanted to use the same app. Here you can see what it looks like on the outside of my car. One thing I really dislike about it is the fact that it's got that gray adhesive. I would really recommend buying some black 3M VHB adhesives because it'll make it a lot less noticeable. But here you can see it looks like it's actually part of the mirror. You'll have to excuse all the other wires. But anyone in your car likely wouldn't even realize it's a dash camera. But here you can see with a lot of harsh light on it, it is so noticeable with that adhesive. And also the ring around the lens, I don't really like that much either. I would probably paint it black if I were to keep this camera longer. And it is worth noting this camera does have a 170 degree wide angle lens, so you can see there's a decent amount of fisheye effect and some distortion on the edges of the screen. So I'll quickly go over using the Wi-Fi and Final Cam. So it'll actually show up as DVR and then some number, and the password will be 1234567 So here you can see there's a live feed. Now this app isn't actually made by Junson. It's pretty limited, so what it does have though is on the left side we have motion detection, time synchronization, wide dynamic range, and then we have photo size if you want to snap any photos with the app, and screen display mode. So then down along on the bottom we have the brightness, which is not the video brightness but your screen brightness. So there you can see I snapped a photo with that second button, and you'll see how quickly it'll save over the Wi-Fi. It's not that fast, but at least it does actually display how quickly it's going. So again, we got the record button, and then we got a mute and volume button. So then on the right side we do have a files section, so there you can see that was the one photo I just took. And you can actually save them to your phone, just like most other Wi-Fi apps. The second option was the download file list for videos. So there you can see a list of videos, and I'll try to download one and you can see how quickly it goes. So you can also delete them from the app. So again, it doesn't go that fast, but it does show you how quickly it's downloading at a real-time rate. And what's pretty cool is you can actually back out of this menu and it'll still keep going. So this seems to be pretty standard. These files are about 12 megabits per second at 1080p, 30 frames per second. So they're pretty typical file size. And there you can see it's still going even after I backed out of it. So sometimes my phone doesn't want to reorient, but now let's take a look at the settings. Now we got the camera name and the password. Auto record on, of course you want that. So here we have full HD or lower resolutions, but there is no option for 60 frames per second like I mentioned before. So there is a format and an advanced options, and the advanced options you can see here, there's only a G-sensor sensitivity or recording interval length, so it's very basic. And then we do have the camera info. So there's not a whole lot to the settings, but it gets the job done. So let's take a look at some of the footage now. So like I said before, it does use the Novatec 96650 chipset. Now that's not the same as the Street Guardian 9665 GC camera. That actually uses the 96655 chipset, which is better than this one. So you can see here though that the daytime footage is adequate. It's comparable to the G1W, but one issue I do have with it personally is because I have a Civic, the windshield wipers don't reach the middle behind the mirror. So there you can see some rain droplets on the windshield. So if you have a car like mine, you probably don't want to use this camera actually, because it's going to be in that area that's not wiped by the wipers. But overall I was satisfied with the video quality. Like I said before, it's 1080p 30 at about 12 megabits per second with audio. Just under 12 megabits per second just for the video. Now, while the night video or low light video isn't especially great, I'd say it's still decent. I've used a couple different cameras that were just really bad at night, and this one does an adequate job. It does look quite a bit grainier. In this next clip it'll be really dark and you'll see what I mean. It's pretty grainy, but it surprisingly lights up, or the street is lit up quite well, I thought at least. So it's not like some cameras in the past I've tested where the road would be not even half as bright from my own headlights. And you know, I don't clean my headlights all the time, so this is going to be pretty standard driving, not a special case where I went out of the way to clean my headlights or anything. I think most people aren't going to be constantly cleaning their windshield or headlights either, so I think this is a more realistic showing of what the camera is going to look like, and that's typically what I prefer to do with my dash cam videos or reviews. You can see some decent detail in the grass though, but this is pretty low speed. So next I'll show a clip with some rain, and I'm actually going to include the audio so you can hear the audio. I thought the audio is actually very good on this camera, especially for how cheap it is.
For real? Anyway?
No, that was a joke. Did you watch the video though that I posted?
I don't know.
Some guy was going. Now a lot of people ask me, since I have a Civic, what do I do or how do I install the camera, since the windshield wipers aren't always getting in front of the camera. Most of the time I have other cameras that I'm testing that aren't being blocked or are in the windshield wipers range. But if I wasn't always testing all these cameras, what I personally would do is just have a secondary Mobius or something to throw up on your dashboard when the weather is really bad. So anyways, that pretty much wraps up my review on this camera. For only $60, I think this camera is really awesome. I think I actually like this more than the A118 now. So it doesn't have a battery like I mentioned before, or a capacitor, but it does come with the hardwiring kit, and I actually think more cameras should just come with the hardwiring kit and no 12 volt adapter. So with the Novatech 96650 chipset, I think it gives good enough 1080p 30 frame per second video. So I would definitely say go for it if you were looking at this camera. Of course, there were a few of those cons I listed. I don't like the gray adhesive, so I would recommend buying some black 3M adhesive, and I don't really like the ring around the lens either. That draws attention to it, so I would paint over that. But other than that, I really like it. Like I said, the app is a little limited, but it does everything you need to do. You're not going to get any parking mode out of this, but again, it's only $60, so I think it's a great deal. I'd like to thank GearBest again for sending this out for review, and of course I'll provide a link down below to where you can purchase this camera. As usual, if you like this video or my other videos, I'd appreciate if you hit like and subscribe. And of course, thanks for watching, drive safe, and I'll see you next time.